Welcome. We are here with Just B coaches JennB and Agakura B. Yay. Today we're going to tell you a little bit about where Just B came from, who we are, and we're going to kind of pull some nuggets of last videos and share them again and kind of dive deeper into them. So grab your favorite beverage. Yay. And a comfiness, because you can see we're in our comfy clothes today. It's just what we get to do. And let's get started. So Just B came about because Agakura and I are finishing this amazing coaching certification program together that we've done almost a year, not
Not
quite-ish,
quite, but it feels
like
it's
years.
been really intense, yes.
Because we do, you get very connected, and lots you're dealing with, a lot of introspection and um, memories you're sharing and healing. And so you get to know the people who you're doing this with, and you become closer, and you get to choose who you want to hang out with. So we got to choose to hang out with us, the Just Bees.
Mm.
We're just being the
Yes.
highly sensitivity and ADHD. And so having both and mixing it, you find the people that work for you. So those people that click for us. So um, we'll tell you a little bit about our backgrounds, and then we'll dig into some really juicy things. I have been learning in the coaching business for almost 12 years and applying it for about a decade. And I started when I was 12, so that I'm younger. I'm just kidding. I'm being very sarcastic, my friends. So it's been a while. It's been a journey. And my journey to actually launch this into being Coach JennB was in the last year. This time last year, I had no idea that this would be the new space I would be stepping into. And what I've heard this past year that really has stuck with me is if you see your path, that's not your real path. Like you might be going down that path, but it's not your path. And so Sean would always say, if you see your path, that might not be your path. And it wasn't. This time last year, what I saw as my path has completely opened up into a whole new place. And I love just being open to it, being flexible, and my journey of self love and self care and self realization probably started about 10 years ago when I started my own personal coaching with an amazing woman who's become a mentor now. And Jackie really helped me figure out where do I fit in and what did I want. And I kept fighting it for a while. And then other things popped up, and I also incorporated therapy to that. So it really helps me to notice different things. So when Agakura says, how did you notice that? How'd you start that? I noticed. And it's little programs and celebrations each time, and the encouragement of a safe space to be me. And it's an amazing gift to find. And so hopefully you'll find that even if you're not ready for your own personal coaching journey or therapy, somewhere you're safe, the dreams like Agakura mentioned last time that are closest to us flourish in our closest circle, in our personal circle. So that is a really simple way to tell you a little bit about me. And I'm sure as our episodes go on, you'll find out even more. So stay tuned for that. And I get to pass it to my gorgeous friend. Agakura, what do you have to say for yourself?
Well, as you were talking, there were so many things that I was like, ooh, I'd love to know more about that. And that's why you'll see me
I
pulling
have
out my
my pen
pen.
too. Okay.
I think it's something that will just happen. One thing is that you, as a listener, so first of all, hello, and it's always amazing to welcome you into this space with this conversation. Um, One thing that you might notice or you will be noticing is that whenever Jen or I say the word but, we will quickly go and correct it to and. You did that. I did that the last episode. It's become such a habit because that's one of the things that is ingrained in us in this amazing coaching program, that but means that something is not right or is not valid. While if you add and, it makes both of them valid. So that's why if you see us do the but and
And
but and you'll see where it's coming from. Um, and well, one of the thing that you mentioned with the path is so interesting because I I was trying to think because you mentioned coaching and therapy. And I thought it would be so interesting to know because I have had both therapy and coaching, and my experiences have been really different in both. And
Mm.
it wasn't until coaching that I actually felt challenged in how I saw or how I would do things in life. Therapy was this place where, for the first time, the tears could flow and the pain could come out and the anger. And it was more of this sit down, have a bowl of broth, and just let it out.
Mm.
And still, I would never I would never argue that it's not valid, but there was a point where it didn't go further than maybe this realization of things, how things had been, how things had gone, of
Hmm.
past pain, and just like doing a lot of the bringing up a lot of the pain. And in coaching, it was more like, okay, now here you have your paintbrush. What's your picture gonna look like?
Oh,
But then I'm saying this with very careful because I know that there's so many different therapy lines. So I
yeah.
would love to know if you noticed any difference or if you would say that actually um it wasn't that different.
Mhm. Both environments for me gave me a place that allowed me to learn what safe space felt like,
Mhm.
understand what a safe, supportive person could be, and um, both really good processing and listening. So that's both of them. Coaching gave me more. Well, we can take this, we can look at this, and then let's figure out why this is stopping for you. For example, I have a goal, I can't keep hitting it, I keep missing it, something's not happening. And okay, let's talk about what's the goal? Why do you want the goal? And let's look at maybe some ways to get you around the obstacles, or what are the obstacles? Let's see if we can break it apart, type of thing. Therapy would say for me, okay, so this is your belief about yourself. Is that true? And it would confront me head on. A lot of emotional understanding and growth came from that. And it kind of, it helped me, it's giving me the really introspection I need that pairs beautifully with coaching. So if my coach says, so you're hitting this obstacle and you're procrastinating because of what? And I'll say, well, it could be fear. And as an ADHD person with rejection sensitivity, normal coaches will say, well, rejection, what, let's go back to when you were younger. Where were you rejected? How did you feel it? Let's reframe that. Whereas if you're not quite understanding what rejection sensitivity is, it's not going to be the let's go back and see if we can reframe it. It's going to be the now what can you tell yourself? How can you hold this love and this belief for yourself? It has to be a whole different strategy for someone who's dealing with that also. So therapy gives me more strategies in terms of self-love and internal mental thinking toolkits. Coaching gives me the toolkits and the tools of, I can reframe that. I can have a different belief. Two different, so think of therapy as I'm in the ocean and it's helping me to tread water. Coach is saying, oh, but there's the island, go to the island. So I'm treading water and I'm now going to the island. So two different functionalities in the same type of scenario. Did that
I
help?
love this. Yeah, I love this. And I'm also realizing that maybe the time I went for therapy was in my 20s, and I had a breakdown. I battled with depression for I think 16 years, from 16 to 34. And there was also suicide attempt. So probably the approach was a very different one. It was like, let's see how this life can work for you, or let's see
Right.
um And I remember that I was in the clinic, I was 26, um, and I wanted to prepare for the audition to enter the conservatoire. And that was something that was keeping me alive, as in I at least had one goal. I wasn't doing well, but music, that was that. And then the team of psychiatrists and psychologists sat me, like, we had this talk, so we're going one on one, and they were like, we think you shouldn't do it because if you don't enter, if you don't pass the audition, that could have a really bad effect on you. And interestingly enough, when now later I come to work with coaches in my late 30s, I was like, hold on, a coach would have probably been, you've got one straw. This is the one thing that's that makes you
Right.
feel alive. Let's feed this.
Right.
It wouldn't have been so protective. And both meant well. I mean, the therapist, they wanted to protect me.
Right.
They're like, if she doesn't make it, this can have this because of what they also have studied, and they've the case studies. What does this do to people and so on? But I just realized when I started working with a coach, I was like, probably they would have told me, we'll go for it.
Right. And how can we support you in this?
And how can we
Not that
support you?
therapists wouldn't, but coaching is, so what skills do you have from this now that you can take and add to more? Yeah.
Exactly. You will be in a better place even if you don't make the addition, because you, being someone battling, having this mental health, um, how this challenge, you will have proven to yourself that you're resilient, you're strong, you can still go for this. And with
Yes.
this lesson, we will take you further.
Right.
And so I'm now wondering
Mm.
if it's okay to actually maybe explore a bit why therapy and coaching are amazing for people with ADHD and highly sensitive people, and whether do we always have to wait until the Christmas tree is on fire, or is it something
Right.
that we should just do like that medical checkup,
Right.
dental
Oh my
check?
gosh. I wish. And so this is disclaimer here for anybody who is really feeling deep depression, different anxiety, suicidal thoughts, please call and connect with a professional who can help guide you through this. Our discussion is sharing our own personal thoughts and ideas on this. And if you truly are thinking something serious and needing help, please reach out for that help. And we will put the link of both. I believe France has its own number it can call, and the US also does too. So the link for just to reach out for help. Um, this is a serious, and I love that we're talking about this. I wish my generation had it sooner because I didn't start therapy until I was in my late 40s. And I didn't start coaching until I was going into a crisis where I had moved locations. I wasn't unpacking my office. I wasn't getting things going. I was just not engaging in life then. I was just taking care of others in my family and making sure things were happening. And so I now am hearing from family members and friends thinking they thought I had depression. They thought, and I probably did have seasonal affect depression. I could have had a different form of depression. So I wish then I had done therapy to really help clear out some cobwebs that were in my brain that was just thoughts that all the eggshells we walked on, all the masking, all of the energy we put then was catching up to me. And so I'm like, okay, I've been talking to this one person and watching videos online for years. I think it's time I get myself a personal coach,
Mhm.
thinking that's where I want to start. That's where I feel safe. That's where society can support me in this. So I got myself a coach. Thankfully, Jackie's been amazing. She's turned into this amazing mentor and friend. Therapy came around probably about 10 years later, 9 years later, and helped really go, oh, you have ADHD. This is so you had shame, you have guilt, you have all this you're trying to work through. Also, that there's different, I just wish we had had it sooner. Like you said, I just wish
Mhm.
our society was a little more open about it years ago so that today we'd be a little maybe further along, or maybe not. Maybe I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Maybe sometimes it's this thing like maybe this was meant so that we would be able to help and understand,
Yeah.
even if sometimes I feel I could have done without it. Like I'm going to be honest. I know
Yes.
that people who are so noble who'll be like, I went through this so that I could. I don't wake up saying, "Yay, I love my 20s and how and the suffering because now I'm able." But then, as it went like this,
Yes.
let me just say, I'm able to connect, to be empathic, to understand, to help
Absolutely.
and to even read things or see things that others may not because I've been in that country, I've been in that land, I know how it feels. And
Right.
um, as I was mentioning, not wanting to be anymore, that was when I was 23,
Mhm.
was because I thought I don't want to be because nobody wants me to be. It was
Hmm.
it was so much, it was only getting up to be who others wanted me to be, to do the masking, the walking on eggshells, to be perfect, but feeling that I didn't know how to create a space where I could be. And because other people were the ones giving me permission to be, I was like, if they don't want me to be, I
Then
don't
where's
want
my
to be.
permission to be?
Exactly. And then I don't want this. And we talked about this episode before. How do you start? How do you learn to allow yourself to be and to support yourself when
Mm.
you've actually been the person who has not allowed yourself to be for all the you've been your
Because
because
you're
all
their own person holding yourself back. Yes.
exactly. So
Oh,
how where do you start? How do you start? And I do believe that one part to start is to have, be it a therapist, a coach, a mentor, someone who,
somebody.
what I think it's also being like going with what feels right for you. There's never, because interestingly, I did therapy in my 20s and coaching in my 30s. You started with coaching and then went to therapy. There is no way,
There's
um,
no perfect recipe, which is a
no
beautiful
right,
thing.
exactly, but it's about getting in
Yes.
front of someone and
And
being
figuring out what that is. Maybe it's a support group. Maybe it's you sign up for, I don't know why this popped into my head, but maybe it's like a climbing group. You love to climb, you go and you connect with other like-minded individuals for whatever activity is, and you start doing that, and you're making connections and saying, okay, yeah, I like to do this, I like to do that, and you're finding where you start. Then that opens something in your brain and in your heart where you go, oh, I need a little more. So what am I looking for? Is it a coach? Is it a therapist? Is it another support group of a different type? Is it I think, yeah, like you said, I was thinking you get to a point where you've had enough. And I don't know
yes.
what that looks like for everybody. For me, it was that I'm tired of feeling this way. And it was a way of not feeling like me. I just didn't feel like a person who had an idea of who I was at that moment. And
Mhm.
that's where it was for me. And it could be for anybody, it could look like anything,
Mhm.
but noticing it. And like you said, being aware and being honest with it, going, okay, I'm feeling this way. What can I do with it? And find a
Okay.
person to talk to.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And I don't know, do you feel like finding that person to talk to, it's really hard at that beginning stage to know who is safe and who will
Mm,
encourage the growth or who will, as you mentioned in another video, who will try to paint your picture for you.
yes.
That's really hard also. And that's where I've had a few failures, but
Mhm.
failures for me were also learning opportunities and growth. There is pain, there is angst through it, and you have to kind of get yourself around it. And for those moments, though, when I look back at those lessons, I think, oh, I wouldn't be to this spot if it wasn't for that. And I just hope anybody who's in their 20s right now, just You don't have to know it all. You don't have to be it all. You just get to be you for the moment and figure out maybe where you want to go.
I think the like one of the most important questions that my therapist asked me in my 20s was, what did you enjoy when you were younger? And that's when I reconnected to playing the piano and singing. Like,
Yeah.
and there was a moment where we couldn't care less about what is said or not said. I mean, we come into these settings and then we start saying, oh, they are comparing my piano playing to so and so's. But if you never came into that space, you wouldn't even have um become aware. So there was a
Right.
time where I was being coached, um because we do the peer coaching within our training, and the peer was coaching me, like she took me to this process where a certain belief had come from, and it was like as it being a child and painting a tree and not being aware of the fact that the tree was crooked until another kid came and started laughing and telling me my tree was crooked. And so, what I'm taking into this new year is I'm going to embrace my crooked trees. And
Right.
now, whenever I upload a video, I do a content, it's like my crooked trees. Don't you take away my crooked trees.
Nope, that's just don't take it personally either. Remember, we're not going to
Exactly.
take it personal, and we're just going to just
Yeah,
us. Yeah, it's a journey. It's not meant to be a straight path because that'd be so boring. But it is a
it,
journey,
it
and
would.
the ups are have their benefits, and the downs have their benefits, and it makes us stronger. And when you said earlier, it makes us we're able to help others. I agree with that. I don't like the saying is, oh, you're going through what you're going through, so you can be the example
Exactly.
for others. That one kind of makes me cringe. It kind of makes me
Can
go,
someone else be the example here? Thank you.
I'll be the light where they can be like,
Yes.
oh, okay, so she did go through some stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you don't have to go through stuff to be able to help others or be a guide or be a light. Just kindness and be a blessing. And if you are empathic and you are highly sensitive and you can feel the other feelings from other people, um, we're going to go to the four agreements again. Don't take it personally and don't make assumptions on what that person is feeling or
Mm-hmm.
portraying, as
Mm-hmm.
it probably has nothing to do with you
Yeah,
most 99% of the time, I
it
think.
doesn't.
But I love
It's a
your art
beautiful
thing. Should we
thing.
talk
You
about
love it?
art? Because we talked about art. And I would love to
Yes.
go back to your art because you said it before someone comes in and tries to rebuild your sandcastle or they try to repaint your painting. And isn't it frustrating when someone has a view for your life and it's not what you would envision, but we go along with it for so long that all of a sudden you'll hit a space where it doesn't resonate. And that's where the beginning of the noticing starts. And it could look so different for everybody. But yes, art. We talked about art museums and stuff, and I'm like, I love to go to the art museums, and I like to like learn the history behind the painting and learn a little bit about the painter and really find it fascinating what they chose and why they chose it and the medium they chose and realistic and what do we talk about? Abstract. And you see that you were liking abstract because
Oh, because I can paint my own landscapes and faces and buildings into that abstract colors. Like for me, abstract painting, I'm able to stand before it. Not all abstract. I mean, there's some abstract painting where it gets a bit, like where you have a triangle
yeah.
and there is something leading to a circle, and you're like, yeah. But when it's really like beautiful, I remember when I was living in Beirut, there was this art gallery where they wanted to promote um like artists from all over the Middle East. And there was
Mhm.
this one artist who had this huge canvas and it was so powerful, like the colors and everything. And I stood before that and I didn't get to see any of the other pictures before the gallery closed because I was just taken away by all that I could see
Mhm.
in that painting. And I remember the person telling me, well, you didn't really get to um like use your ticket because you just watch, and I was like, that is what I needed. I went like I was so full after just
Perfect.
oh
And again, someone trying to put their expectation of what a visit to a museum should look like on someone else. When you went, that's all I needed. That was
that's
beautiful.
all I needed. It made
Yeah.
my day. I was even like thinking, oh, if I could just afford this picture, it was amazing. It
I should get
was,
a picture of it.
I think it was a no more, but oh, I didn't dare.
Wow. Right.
Sometimes
There's times.
there's times where you like, if there's like a camera and it's crossed with red,
Oh, then no, you know me. I will follow that rule.
well, and
Ish.
I did, and I did too.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, and you love the naturalistic.
I love the Impressionists. I just
Mhm.
I find them soothing in the way that they use their colors and they pull it all together. And I'm a very, as you can tell, I really like, I just a very full of expression. If I walk by a ruin and it's a castle or whatever it is, I will touch the walls just to be going, ah, I'm touching the history, or I will stop and do the smells. I'm very intentional with my senses. So when I see artwork, I will look at brush strokes and I will want to know the history, and I'll look at the frame that's around it. And most people go, okay, that's a pretty flower. I'll go, oh, so how many petals are there? And where is the light and the shadows? And my artistic side wants to come out and just, like you, I want to stand there and just enjoy it,
Mm.
not be told to read it, move on, read it, move on. That's why we were visiting, oh, any museum I go to, and I can't remember the one we went to recently, but I get the audio guide if they have an audio, and I'll put it on and do my own pace and pick which ones I want to see. I won't go in order, but I'll go, that one caught my eye,
Oh
that one caught
yes,
my, and I'll do it that way
yes,
just to
definitely.
enjoy. I love museums. I love art museums. I love the zoo. The zoo it
Yeah.
is another way, although it's hard to see animals behind
Mm,
cages and things, but
yeah.
it's so that's what I enjoy doing. And people have tried to paint my picture for me many different times. This is what you should be doing. This is how you should look. This is how you
Mhm.
should be, whatever. And I mean that figuratively, not literally. They don't come up
Yes.
and paint my painting. So, but I find that I am now in charge of my own brush. And I've gotten to that point in life where I went, nope, that's not the color I'm choosing. I'm doing this, or I'm going to paint this shape. So I'm starting to step more into that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what my future will look like. How about you?
Same. To be honest, I think one of the most liberating things, I'm coming back to art and then going to when people try to paint your picture. One of the most liberating thing that happened to me was when I was in the clinic. We would have this, I don't know how it's called in English. In German, it's called ergotherapy, and you just do something.
Art
It's
therapy.
art therapy, right?
Uh-huh.
So it can be doing something with clay or
Uh-huh.
painting. Okay, so
Uh-huh.
art therapy. Okay. And so I would just pick up the brush and paint, and then I would ask the therapist like, okay, this isn't right, right? He's like, there's no right and wrong here, just paint.
Yes.
And I started doing that. I actually started developing the habit because I stopped doing something because somehow I was raised in the generation where if it's not going to make you rich, you don't dedicate time to it. If you're not going to be a professional dancer, you don't go to dance class. If you're not, and so I started taking dance class again and painting, even though it has nothing to do with whether I'm going to earn money or not, because it is my therapy. That's my safe space. My safe space is to have a paintbrush and to just play with colors. Nobody has to understand it, but it
Mhm.
helps me. And just taking back that thing, like I enjoy it. I was laughed at school. I got an E in arts. An E.
An E means excellent, my friend. In case you didn't know, an E means
Ooh,
excellent.
thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Because, and so it's the same with life. Like, who are you to tell me that I shouldn't be
Right.
painting crooked trees? Well, can you please keep to your Canva and let
Yeah.
me do mine? And especially people who make sure that nobody paints on their picture will still take their brush and start painting yours. And you're like,
Mhm.
you don't like people doing that to you. Why do you think
No.
I would like this?
That's, I think, the interesting notice of it all. We start saying, but you don't like it if someone does that to you. And so it doesn't make sense. It does when you look at the psycho meta programming in their brain and how they were raised and programmed, it makes sense because that's what we've learned in our coaching. It just doesn't make sense to our heart and our bodies when someone else is trying to step in on who we are thinking we are.
Yes.
Right. It does. I love how you start doing something for the joy of it. I was so glad to hear you say that. I just was like, yay. I just imagine you dancing and singing. And I honestly, for Christmas this year, I asked for watercolor supplies and a watercolor class so I could just sit and do some more artistic things. I've picked up crocheting in the last few years, teaching myself to do different things. I
And
just
she does amazing things, guys. She is, oh my God,
It
the
keeps
things
my
that I've seen.
brain busy while my hands are just relaxing.
Mhm.
Like, yeah. So, um, I do. I love that you said that, and I would encourage everybody to find something. What if it's just like writing your name in different fonts or what
Yeah.
did you used to do as a kid that you really enjoyed doing? Was it playing hide and seek? Okay. Was it biking? Was it hiking? Was it making forts? What else did you do enjoy it as a kid? I'm trying to think of what I enjoyed as a kid. I don't know that I enjoyed painting because it was too structured and people were always telling me how to do it and that it
Yeah,
wasn't.
the structured painting, right? That's where
fun.
my rejection
Uh-uh.
came from. But if I can just pay, that's why this therapy, where the guy
Yes,
was
I
like,
love
just
that.
enjoy the colors. I was like, oh,
No right or wrong. And that's truly what therapy is too. It helps to feel like, oh, there is no right or wrong with what I'm saying. I can process freely. So,
mhm.
what else so as a kid, what else did you enjoy? I'm trying to go back and it's been years.
Did you enjoy outdoor things more, or did you more enjoy being at home?
That's a toss up because I wanted to be out playing with our friend, like with my brother and our friends. Um, but I also enjoyed building a fort and reading books. So
Mm,
it could be
yeah.
either
Reading a
or.
book and just being hiding somewhere.
I love a good book. I can get so hyper focused in a good story
Mhm.
that the whole day will go by and I've forgotten to eat and all of it
Same
because it's a
here.
good book. And you can
Yes.
feel with the characters and you can feel with what's going on. And it's very hard to um,
Mhm.
what's it called? Detox from a book. When you come off the book and you close it and it's done, it's hard to
Oh,
just reset.
I have books that I haven't finished
Mm,
because I don't want to say goodbye to the characters.
yes,
I'm like,
yes.
nah, not ready to say goodbye yet.
No, and then so I'll restart the whole series. I won't even finish that
Mhm.
last one. I'll just restart the whole series to, yeah, I
Yes.
have those too. Those are good ones.
Yeah, definitely.
So did you like to cook? What else do you like to do?
Yes, cooking, anything that will get me into this space of just um being focused on something, but not really worrying about something, just like cooking. With cooking, it's the smell. So anything that includes
Mm,
the senses. When even just a fried onion for me is like, wow. And then you add the thyme or
mm,
the laurel or whatever you add, and then it just builds up. Or if you're going like more into the curry area, then that
mm.
smell will be.
This,
So the cooking, so the senses with me, and
yes.
then the coloring is like with what I see and the music. So it's
Mm,
very much like anything that includes and is pleasing is like, oh yes, I love it.
yes.
And anything that I can, here's what also enjoy in the short. So I admire you for your crocheting because the other day when you showed me this beautiful long blanket, I was like, how do you feel when you're at row 5? Do you feel like There's still so much to come. And or
Mm,
is it always gratifying? This is the amazing part. Or is there a beginning where
mm.
you're like, oh boy.
At the beginning is always is this the right way? And I finally got into rhythm with it, so that was great. And then, um, I don't know, I never had a plan of when I'm going to stop. So the last one I did, I said, okay, these are the colors I'm going to go through. I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to be done. But then I was done, and I'm like, well, no, I can put a cute little border around it, and then I'm going to teach myself to crochet little like shapes, like a heart or something. I'm going to put those on it, and then it could keep going because I enjoy the learning and the process. And so now I'm in the point of learning to do a sweater. So we'll see how that goes. It might be the biggest sweater you've ever seen, but I'll still make myself a
Wow.
sweater.
Because I have this thing, like for example, if we're going like now we'll be going on a road trip, and I
Hmm.
know that if we're still like at the beginning, like the first hour, I will be still excited. It's
Oh
like, oh
yeah.
wow, we still got so much to go. And then once we're arriving back home, it will be like, oh. But normally when I'm doing something, there's this point where it's at the beginning, and I'm like, is
Mm,
this ever gonna end? Like when I'm preparing a script
right.
and then
Right.
starting to record, um, there's like when I've done the English one, it's like, yeah, this is the English one. You still got three more to go. And it's like, oh, and then
Yes.
when I'm like midway through, it's like, okay, this starts feeling like,
You hit your
so I
groove.
have this thing where sometimes they'll be like, oh, can we just,
Yeah.
is
It's
there
that
an end?
beginning warm up. I mean, I consider it when I was training to do some runs and different races and things, and I always hate that first mile is always the hardest because you're just getting started. Everything's warming up. Everything's like, do I remember how to do this? And then all of a sudden you hit a click and you go, oh, and then you just get into a rhythm. And so your
Yes.
road trip, you'll get into a rhythm and it's this day and then this day. And then you get home and it'll be okay, it's cool down, it's stretching, it's remembering, it's learning, it's planning for the next trip. That will be
Yeah.
fun too. So
True.
every
Having
project
something
has that.
planned is also good. Like I know that
Yeah,
whenever I left my parents and I would know when I'd be back because they live in another country, it would always
right.
be easier to say goodbye
Oh, uh-huh.
than not
I agree.
knowing.
As long as I know when my next time I'm going to see them. Yeah, I know. I get that too. Yeah. Otherwise, goodbyes are so hard and I feel them so intensely. Because then my brain can go, well, when will we see them? What if something happens? And it starts to take the whoop, go off on
Yes.
its own little spiral. So it's knowing the little, again, a tool to use to help myself stay stronger in my confidence and going, I'm going to see them here. It
Hmm.
will be okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I guess wrapping it all up into being just be and the therapy and the coaching and doing things that you want for joy. I think that's recognizing when someone's trying to paint your picture for you is probably the beginning of it. And then recognizing where you get joy in whatever activity it is. I would say would be the beginning of that journey.
Mhm. Yes, you
That's what
mean
I
knowing what activity it is that brings you that exactly,
yeah.
and to also be in the space where this is me and I'm just being. Um,
Yep.
I'm not Picasso, but this is giving me, I think maybe because
Right.
we're used to giving so much, we have a difficulty to be okay with just receiving. So if
Yes.
painting is you just receiving joy, take that. If dancing is you just
Oh,
receiving, you don't have to give something to an audience, but if you enjoy it, dig
right.
in, dive in, do it.
Oh, I love that. Dig in, dive it, do it. Just
And
be.
what I love is also the story I once heard about Steve Jobs, how he took calligraphy at uni and he just enjoyed it. But then later it helped him to create the different fonts, apparently. So, but
Oh
at that
my
time he
goodness.
wasn't doing it because he knew he was going to be the founder um of Apple and whatever, what have you not. He was just intrigued by it. But then later you could pull from it, and that you never know.
I find that amazing.
Hmm.
And I could like do a deep dive into that later and kind of do some, I might have to. So If any ideas pop up while we're sharing, please put them in the comments so we can have a conversation with you. And we hope you like and subscribe to these videos. We'll be doing some more episodes coming up. Anything you're interested in, put it in the comments. We'll make sure we converse about that with you on the next episodes. I'm going to leave it with, let's just be. How's that feel, Agakura?
That feels just right. Just be.
Just be. Well, thanks, everyone. We'll see you again next time.
Bye.